Last season was a pretty all-encompassing season. You know, we had some highs, we had some lows. Kids had to battle through quite a bit, and ultimately, ended with what we would classify as a successful season. We started off. You go through the training in the summer and fall camp, and you're just preaching to these kids and building them up and getting their confidence built back up. And you go into Mankato, and they put it on us pretty good. And we didn't play a good football game. They played a good football game, and that's what happens. And I think when we put the film on and showed the kids that, listen, it wasn't so much you weren't on their level, it's like we just didn't execute very well. And so that was something that we just had to really preach and go through, and these kids had to believe in the process and just trust that the process was there. And I think that's ultimately what makes good teams, good programs, is when you believe in how you're doing it. The how is the most important thing. And eventually results come, and if you chase results just winning all the time, you're going to have ups and downs. And so going through that, and then they started, they got to win at Washburn, and then kind of kept getting a few wins, and the defense played really well, and the offense played well, and they're like, okay, we can do this, and just got momentum, and they really started believing in themselves, and that was a lot of fun. And then you got to the point where it's like, okay, we can make a run at the conference here, and it just got bigger and bigger each week, and the kids embraced it, and it was a lot of fun, and it was a really fun season. It was a fun group, and they cared about each other. They cared about what our image looked like as far as in the community, in the classroom, and just all encompassing. And so it was really fun to be a part of. And then obviously, we won the conference and made the playoffs, and we lost, so we got a lot to learn from. But what I probably learned most, last year was just how much caring for each other and how much leadership matters. Everybody knows that you have to have great leaders, but we had a whole bunch of them, at all different spots, and never at any time did our kids feel they were out of a game, or they couldn't win, or they didn't believe in each other's. And as a coach, you preach that, but it was fun to see that happen, because I don't know that we ever stepped on the field and were the most athletic team, or the best team, but I think we played the hardest, and I think we cared the most, and we'll definitely be using that, as part of our formula going forward, and look forward to seeing what this season looks like. When you lose that many good players and good leaders and good humans, you don't just replace those. You find different pieces. I don't think you ever replace, Carter Edwards, Clayton Powers, and there's been many of those kids and players throughout Northwest history that you're like, okay, there's never going to be another Jake Soy. There's never going to be another Dave Tollefson, and there isn't. But there's going to be different versions of them, different types of them, and that's what we're after. A long time ago, there was Tony Miles, probably one of the best players to ever play here. But there's been a lot of great receivers that came after him, and done a good job. So as coaches, we try and find the right type of players that fit into them. We're never going to replace anybody, but just that fit our puzzle the way we want it to fit. And so, that was a special group, no doubt about it. And that's what makes this spring fun, is you got to fill what are our deficiencies, where's a few of our holes, and how do we fill them. And we have a recruiting class under our belt, that are young, and they're a good class, and we're putting those guys in, and then we're kind of just seeing what we have right now and putting them through the trials and tribulations of really a stress test and seeing how they respond. And so I'm excited to see who those new leaders are. Ziggy, Holden Ziggy has got to take over for Shane in the back end, and he's started and done a great job of that.
Let's go, we fly around. Hey, our mentality is different. Our mentality is different. We compete in everything we do. It's January. We ain't never stop, and we ain't gonna stop now. All right? Y'all hear me? Let's go, baby. Let's go.
D-line, we lost Niall Shutt, Clayton Powers, Cooper, all these great bodies in there that were there, that have been there 4 and 5 years. And so, how do you replace those? Well, Jake Stockert's a upcoming, all-conference type player. You bring a couple transfers in, that have to fit some of those molds, that fill some gaps while we organically grow our freshman class up. And offensively, we're in a little better spot because we returned quite a few guys, and so we're cautiously optimistic, but as far as leadership, it's still, we're still developing that. We're still finding out who those are, and more importantly, finding out who are the guys that can fail and keep coming back for more, or who mess up and then in the fourth quarter they're still ready, to roll.
Hey man, let's form this 2026 team right now. We're starting right now, day one. Here we go.
This spring, what I challenged our coaches with is these new guys that are coming in, we've got to be really tough, and they have to be hardened up guys. And we got to figure out what they can and can't do, and then fit your defensive or offensive scheme or special team scheme around what we have. And that's been an ongoing process that goes through spring, it's going to go through summer and even into fall camp. But identify what the guys do well and then put them in a spot to succeed where they're comfortable at. So we went into spring ball, and defensively there's a lot of holes to fill, a lot of new guys. And what you tell them is like, listen, there's still talent there. Okay, they're just different names. And so we're going to find out what those guys do well, what their deficiencies are, and then attack those deficiencies and really push them, on that. And so I thought both sides really did a great job of doing that and pushing these new guys, because a lot of times it's different. When you get, it's easy when you're kind of in the backdrop to say, man, I could do this, I could do that. And then when you're in the spotlight, you have to do it every single day. And you have to do it over and over and over. You have to do it whether you're feeling great, whether you're really sore, whether you're sick. Nobody cares. You got to show up and perform. That's when it's tough. You just can't have bad days. And so that's what we have to just keep putting into our kids. It's like, okay, you might not be feeling right, but for these next 2.5 hours, this is all Bearcats, baby. This is all we're doing right now, and there's nothing else. It's like, I need your 100. And it might not always be, performance level. Like I tell them all the time, if you're bench pressing and you're maxing, like, you might not always be able to bench 400 pounds, but I need your best. Just there's going to be good or bad days, but you can't just say it's not going well today, I'm shutting it off. So our coaches are really hard on our guys and pushing them, and I think ultimately when our guys get comfortable performing under pressure, that's when you see them take off. And as we went through spring, you just saw them get more and more comfortable every day, more and more comfortable, and understand that, like we said earlier, a mistake doesn't define us. It's an opportunity to learn and get better, and you saw them responding, and by the time the spring game got here, we were in a good spot. We're like, okay, I think we got, a good group of guys right here that we can move forward with. And spring game, came, and a lot of guys played really good football. It's fun to just say, we're going to let you go out and play and do your own thing. We did offense versus defense, and there were a lot of great plays out there. It was a really tight game, and the kids loved it, and that was fun to just see them play.
Great call. At the very end, just move up at the very end. Change the launch point, you know what I'm saying? But it's a great control, man. Baby.
And now they jump into the summer, and this is the leadership side of it. This is, we got 120 kids here, and you have to lead these guys, seniors, juniors, sophomores. We don't have a ton of upperclassmen. We're a young team, but we still have to lead. We got to have some leaders, and you're going to run the practices. You're going to run your workouts. Our strength coach is going to do them in the morning and put them into the ground. That was the one stipulation, is make it as hard as you can. There's going to be performance days where we're improving what we're doing as far as getting bigger, stronger, faster, but there's going to be a couple days, where we're just saying we're going to get tougher here.
I'm Holden Zigmat, junior safety at Northwest here. Yeah, so came in as a walk-on safety from Mill Valley High School, and came into a really good winning culture, which was awesome. That's kind of what I was looking for. When I got here, all the culture here was amazing, family culture. People were working hard everywhere, which was really special and really cool to see. I think I take it for granted that it's not normal here compared to everywhere else. But yeah, winning culture. Coming as a freshman, and I think I thought I was better than I was, which humbled me, but it was good for me. And so that season, I remember thinking that it was just normal, like we were going to go to playoffs, we were going to have a shot to win a natty. And that season was full of a lot of highs and lows. Didn't play as much as I would have liked to. Was a scout team guy. But after that season, I think a lot of us had a chip on our shoulder to come back and to work even harder. And so that brings me to, my redshirt freshman season, where I feel like the guys around me really pushed me. And because of them, I was able to work as hard as I possibly could. Got the opportunity, as I worked my way up the depth chart, I got the opportunity to start my first game redshirt freshman year, which I actually found out probably 2 hours beforehand, which is crazy. But I was definitely nervous, but it was cool. I have a lot of support on my side, and like I said, the brotherhood here is just different. Yeah, it helps a lot, and so for everyone to kind of push each other, make each other better, that was really good. And so we worked through that season. But it didn't end exactly how we wanted it to end.
Clark goes down to 0, and that will be it as Northwest Missouri State loses to Pittsburgh State in the final game of the season, 23-7 for Northwest. They finish out the year at 6-5,
which was a shock, I think, to most of us, and that was pretty tough. And so going into my sophomore season, then, we had a lot of guys, a lot of seniors who were really just kind of tired of it and wanted things to go back to the old way that they were. And so I feel like that off season we worked harder than we ever did. And that was when Coach Matt came in as well in the off season. And so there was a lot of questions, a lot of unknowns. But when Coach Matt came in, I just remember that dude brought the energy. Our first meeting, he's having us stand up and yell and scream and hug one another and things like that. And so that was really cool to see. And Coach Mack, you can just tell, highly competitive guy. He pushes us to be highly competitive as well. And I think after those first couple meetings, guys started to see that that this guy wants to win. He brought in coaches that want to win too. And it was pretty special. There was just this kind of like rally behind the seniors of like, this is our last year. We're not going anywhere. We're here to win. This is what we came here for. This is what we're going to finish with. And so I looked up to a lot of those guys, guys like Shane Fredrickson or Clayton Powers, Carter Edwards on the defense. And so we rallied. And that offseason we worked really hard. We competed against one another like crazy. And I think because of a lot of that competition, our team chemistry just grew even further. At this point, we were a team who had been with each other for 2, 3, some guys 4 years now, and so the bond was tight. Everyone was just surrounded by support and love from one another. You could tell the coaches, they cared about us. I remember Coach Warwick coming in as well, and just always checking up on us, always asking us how we're doing. Inviting us to his house for dinners and things like that. That was, all that stuff during the summer really brought us together closely. And I think we started to catch the vision of like, we can do this again, which was special. And so we go into that first game against Mankato, and it's a monsoon out there pouring, and it's not fun, and we get whooped. And so we're looking around like, well, we can ride that road, or we can turn around and get back after it, work even harder, and go win some games. And so I think a lot of us just like I said, we're tired of it and cared about one another enough to say, this is our last ride, and we're going to go do this. And so we worked even harder that week and prepared even harder. And I just remember, going into that next game, super confident. I think a lot of the guys were super confident despite the loss. And from there we started to make a run. We started to build off each game more and more, and we got closer and closer as a team. We learned our strengths, learned our weaknesses, learned what we could and couldn't do. And so we get towards the end of the season, and playing Pitt at Sporting, that was a pretty special moment. I think just seeing that crowd, being in that stadium was, I feel like as a kid you always have that dream, that like D1 or NFL football dream, and I feel like that was the closest thing I'd been to it so far. And so I just knew there was people in the crowd cheering me on who I was happy to see. Got a lot of different texts from people showing up, and so we didn't come out with a win like we would have liked to, but that was a pretty special moment. I think for me, the best moment though throughout my journey so far has to just be the off seasons, and I can't pinpoint a specific moment in a game. We always talk about this, but yeah, the games fly by, and you often don't remember a lot of the stuff that happened in games. I think it's what happens off the field that matters more. And so, yeah, just the summers, the grueling mornings and winters with the guys in the off season, getting up early, even when you're tired and sore. But yeah, pushing through with those guys. I think those were kind of my most weirdly enjoyable memories.
Do you think all those moments grew you into a leader for this team?
Yeah, definitely. I think early on I kind of came in with the mindset that, like I said, I had to go improve something or earn something, and I was humbled really quickly that college, not everyone plays, and so as a freshman, I didn't play, and that was humbling. And so I just continued to put my head down and work. But at the end of the day, it was really the guys around me that pushed me to be better. They threw me into the fire as early as I felt like I could be thrown in. And so I learned a lot about how to get up when you fail, what it means not to just lead vocally, but lead with your actions. I learned how to not just care about myself, but to serve others, I feel like, off the field as well. I think a lot of those things build trust with the guys around me, and helps me not only to know them more, but to love them more and to care about them more, which ultimately does translate onto the field. Being surrounded by a bunch of older guys on the team, it kind of felt like I had two choices. I could kind of just be the guy who slugs around and does what I have to, or I could kind of step up and be a guy who starts to lead vocally. And I think earning that trust of like I can play helped a lot, and helped me build a lot of confidence in the fact that I can step out, I can lead these guys. But ultimately, I feel like I learned through that year that it wasn't a position that made me a leader. I don't think me starting made me a leader. I don't think any kind of achievement would make somebody a leader. I think we have plenty of leaders on this team who don't play. Spring ball was a lot of fun. I feel like we got a good opportunity this year to kind of see where we were at. Coming off right in the high last year of being MIAA champs, going back to the playoffs, it would have been really easy for us to say we did it again and so we're good. But Coach Mack really emphasized the fact that this is a new team, that we have a lot of new guys. I think we lost 28 some seniors. So we have a lot of new guys stepping into different roles, which was, one, a good opportunity for some of the other guys who have been playing to step up and lead those younger guys, but also just a good opportunity for younger guys to step up and to compete and to see kind of where we were at as a team. And I feel like this spring ball really showed what we could and couldn't do. I feel like we learned a lot about who we are as a team, what we need to grow in.
What does Coach McMenamin emphasize this offseason?
Being tough. I think with a lot of young guys, he wants to see who can do it, who's going to step up and rise to the occasion, and who's going to fall. And so he's definitely emphasizing the fact that we need to be tough, and it makes sense. I think going in, we're not going to win with talent every time. We don't always have the most talented guys, but I think our culture and how we play on the field, beyond that, is really what's going to shine for us. And so, that involves everything from working hard to being tough, to knowing the playbook, to doing all the little things right, which he always harps on, which is good. And so I would say that's the main thing though, is just being tough.
Our expectations don't change moving into the summer. This is we're winning games 3 through 6 right now. That's the goal. And every day you got to show up and do it. So they all have different types of workouts that they're doing that are specific to their groups, but they're hard and they're expected to work 5 days a week. They're going as hard as they can. There's no excuses. They're going to get up and go, and then they're able to work, on their own together with guys, and they're expected to lead every evening together as they run a practice. And it's, ultimately great to see all the guys that are around and touch them again and just watch their growth, with it. And so it's like, okay, let's go, and we turn it over to the strength staff and just say, get going. Joe Q's got him, Joey Federickson's got him, his staff's got him. Carter Edwards is now, an assistant with them, and he's getting on them, and it's just fun to see them get put through the ringer. And they'll come out on the right side, but it's going to be June's really hard. It's going to be very, very tough, but when they're done with it, they'll feel good about it. July's a lot of the same. They get a little break for the 4th of July, and then now we really have 3 weeks before we come back for fall camp. That it's very important to kind of get their bodies right, get their speeds up, the techniques up. We back off a little bit on the straight toughness side of it and work more towards performance. With that, as we want to try and get them to the point when they start fall camp, aerobically they're at the right level, physically they're at the right level, weight they're exactly where they need to be, so that there's no soft tissue injuries or anything that's small that says, okay, they weren't quite ready, to start, because all sales are final once the season starts. There's no refunds. We only have 11 games, and if we have a bad day and lose a game, you're in trouble. It's not like, Major League Baseball has 162 games. You lose one, it's on to the next. Basketball has 82, in the NBA. Football, we got 11. And we train all year. We put so much work into it, and every game, there's about 7 minutes of live action. 7 minutes, and so that's 77 minutes. It's like a little over an hour of live football that they play, where they train hours every day the whole year, for those moments. So got to be ready to perform when the lights come on Saturdays, and so that's the importance of being ready when fall camp gets here, and then we've got to get things as close to perfect as we can. We have a great process, and we'll put them through it, and then Kingsville will be game 1 and find out where we're at. Bearcat Nation, I think it's going to be another fun run. It's going to be a different guys, and we're still not sure where we're going to be or what we are, but I think we're going to be in a good spot. We're going to hit the ground here in August, and I think put out a good product. And you never know, but I think from what they've helped us provide is huge. I do want to tell Bearcat Nation how important they are, to us as a program, and going into year 2, it's so much fun to have you on our back. We're getting a new scoreboard, we're getting new field turf. They constantly are donating, the program to help make us better, and we just couldn't do it without you. It does take a village to raise a program, and we're grateful that we have you. And I think it's going to be a fun year. Hopefully you guys come out and support us like you always have, and it'll be a few new faces, but we're excited to play and get after some people.